Okay, so I've got this worksheet. I've done a few of them just so you could see what I'm expecting. And then now I'm going to show you some of the technique for how to do this. So I want you to pay attention to like the saturation. Do y'all know what I mean when I say saturation? We didn't really talk about that. That is the intensity or the vibrance of the color. Um, this is not like a map for geography. Like I'm expecting this to look more colorful, more vibrant, more saturated. That means there's just more color in it. So these first few, this is all about blending Prismacolors. This isn't like a color by number, it is blending. So uh, I did the first one already, which is red and green, and now I'm going to do blue and orange. Now, you have a few options because there's some colors. Can you close that computer? There are some colors like yellow and red, like that's all you have. And then there's some colors like green or blue where you have some options. It's totally up to you what you use for those. But down here, I want you to follow. It needs to be a blue. I don't care which one. So I'm going to grab this guy. I'm going to sharpen it real quick. And all of the Prismacolors are going to be handheld sharpened stuff just because the electric one will just eat it up. All right. So I'm gonna use blue and orange. All right. Uh, remember, this is all about craftsmanship, so don't be in a hurry. You guys have plenty of time next week to work on this. So first thing I do is just sort of get a safety barrier around the edges, so I'm gonna stay in the lines on this worksheet. And then when you're coloring, start out with a light application. So I'm not pressing down real hard. Notice how I'm holding my pencil. It's further back on the pencil. And I'm going to bring this probably like 3/4 of the way over. Grab orange. I'm going to do the same thing going in the opposite direction. And then as you start to layer the colors, you'll see what happens when you blend them. Because what's going on here is the pigment from the orange and the pigment from the blue are starting to like sort of mix together. And I know that's obvious, but it's worth saying, I guess. So there'll probably be like 3 or 4 of this sort of back and forth in order to get it more saturated. And each time you start another color, you'll see it get a little bit darker, but you'll also press down a little bit more. But it should be a smooth gradient, okay? I'll give you that color. And then down here, this is a gradient, natural like blend of colors. It should not be like stagnant, like red, orange, yellow. Like it needs to be like red, and I can't really see where orange begins and red ends, like that type of thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, show you guys how that goes. And you can grab your red orange if you want and just do this right here and blend them, or you could use orange and blend them the old-fashioned way, but we'll start like this, trying to maintain craftsmanship. Okay. See how those blend together? That's what we're aiming for. And these are pretty easy, but when you start incorporating the yellows, that's when it gets a little tricky. I'm going to go ahead. Yellow's a little tricky. I'm going to go ahead and start the yellow and bring it over into the yellow-green while the yellow Prisma is clean. Because what happens is with these lighter colors like yellow or white or even orange is if it is used, if I use yellow on blue, then there'll be little blue pigments in my yellow colored pencil that if I'm trying to get a yellow orange color, that'll mess it up. So you just kind of you got to be thinking about that type of thing whenever you're doing this, trying to avoid cross contamination. So you also want to pay attention. I don't know if you can see it when it happens, but what'll happen when you're coloring is sometimes there's little like crumbs that fall off from your colored pencil, and you really got to be cautious of that. You'll probably hear me sort of blow on the paper to make sure those crumbs go away, because what'll happen is I'll be coloring right here and then I'll pick up the screen crumb and come over here, and while I'm coloring accidentally smudge it into something. So it's just pay attention to that as you're going. That's good practice. Okay. So I think y'all get the idea on that. I'll let y'all finish that on your own. Down here, these are a little different. you start by adding a layer like whatever's in bold. So that's blue. So I'm going to do a layer of blue first, and then I'll go over it. I'm just going to start with a light layer, and then I'll go over the top again. Whole idea here is just exposing you to what happens when you blend these colors, like helping you get familiar with your tools. All right, so you'll do that, and then you'll do the same thing right here, except for you pick the colors. You do a light color of whatever it says. So like red, you'll do a light color of red, and then all these colors you just random, doesn't matter. You could do neutrals or whatever. Neutral does any kind of brown color. It would be a neutral. And then lastly, you'll come up here and you'll color this according to the light source. And you can make it whatever color you want. So if you want the ball to be pink and the ribbon to be blue and the pyramid to be black, not black, red, that's fine. Okay. But, you know, there's a little arrow. I don't know if you can see it on the screen right now, but on your print, it says light source. So if the light source is coming this way, well, I can start with just, let's see. I'll start with the pyramid. They drew the shadow in for you, so that's nice. I'm going to use this color because it's fun. So I'm going to have a brighter color on the side that is facing the light source. And you can use the same color over here if you want, and then just add something to bring the value down. Or you could use a totally different color. It's up to you. I'll just go with a normal. So it's this. Everything you do, you start with a light application and then you go back and add another application to make it more saturated. I'll use this darker color. This is indigo blue. A lot of people confuse it for black, but it's not, but it is darker, so that helps. So you do something like that, and again, it doesn't have to be the same color, so you can make this green and that red and whatever, but you're gonna fill the whole thing. But everything should be saturated to this level, and use good craftsmanship. Any questions about this? All right, thank you.